So, as many of you guys have heard, Apple has pledged an additional $100 billion, so a whopping $600 billion investment for the next 4 years. I'm going to talk about the good news and how the markets are reacting, which is the most important. But I dug a little bit deeper, and yes, it's not what it actually looks like. I'm not here to piss you off or anything like that. You guys know that I just always like to understand the why behind a company and the reason that they announce or agree to do specific things. And I think it's quite interesting. So let's go ahead and jump right in. I really hope that, again, if you like videos like this, just drop a thumbs up and subscribe. And I would love to make more for you. So Apple aftermarket hours is up 2.8%. And it makes sense because there is some really good news that is going around, right? Apple is set to increase production and increases investment of $600 billion that will be spent in the Lone Star State alone, so Texas, right? So this is a $600 billion investment with a new program for American manufacturing. This investment will create more than 450,000 jobs within Texas, receiving a significant portion. Texas Instrument, which is coherent, and it's like 10 different companies that Apple is working with within the U.S. to pretty much spend these $600 billion for the next 4 years. The exact details, I've been looking at different articles. I overheard the conference that Trump had when he was there at the Oval Office with Tim Cook. And exact numbers have not been given, but what I understand is that $600 billion is planned to be spent in American production over the next 4 years. This is an ongoing effort to bring more Silicon Valley and computer part manufacturings or fabrications to the States, avoiding resilience and outsourced manufacturing in the countries overseas. So this is the part that I find to be quite interesting, is like there is no question that Trump campaigned on the idea of bringing jobs back to America. I think that's great. I think the idea sounds great, right? And I think that if you create more jobs for America, hopefully the American economy can thrive, right? But the part that I don't fully understand is how everything will actually work, right? Because there are different countries that do different things for the United States, right? Logistically speaking, that is why the world goes round the way that it does, is because other countries can simply manufacture or produce either products or services just at a much cheaper rate. That is how it's been, and it's been like that for a reason. I'm not here to say that I'm not willing to try new things. I like this idea. But I want to remind you, we're already paying $1,000 for iPhones. So how will this change in the next 4 years? This is just something that I want you to keep in mind. The idea sounds great. And everyone might say that, yeah, it's great. We're okay with paying a little bit more if jobs are brought back to the United States. But how much more? Again, just something to pay attention to and something that I'm going to be watching for the next 4 years. With that being said, it talks about the investment for the 450,000 jobs, that this includes new and expanded work with 10 companies across America. So pretty much Apple is going to be working with 10 different companies across all of the US to be able to invest this $600 billion. Texas Instruments is going to be one of the largest partners of Apple's new commitment. I've actually found this to be quite interesting. According to Wednesday's release, these companies are expanding their partnership to a turn bare wafers, the main building blocks of computer chips, and turning them into final products. This work will largely be done at TI's New Sherman's facility, using manufacturing equipment made in Austin. So again, it's working with these companies that could vertically integrate with Apple and these 1.6 billion investments to expand the semiconductor manufacturing for Texas Instruments. This is huge. And if I'm not mistaken, actually Texas Instrument is a publicly traded company. So I wonder how this stock is. Yep, it's up 2.44% aftermarket hours. And I also saw a handful of, chip manufacturers are also seeing a nice gap up. AMD is up 1.67%. Micron Technologies is up 3.96%. So there is no question that this is good news if it's all true. My thing is this kind of sounded familiar. Apple commits, Apple pledges billions of dollars. So I asked and I looked a little bit into it. And again, I'm not trying, like, this is positive news. And what's most important is how the market is reacting. You guys know that I just always like to dig a little bit deeper. And Apple announced back in 2021 that it was going to commit $430 billion in the US. And then they followed up, and this was years before in 2018, 2019, that they also said a few billion dollars they were going to invest. And the thing is I asked and made it very simple because none of these articles were able to capture if this investment was actually made. And when I asked this question, was it ever invested the $430 billion? And this was originally under the Biden administration. Now an additional 100 has been added, right? And it says, well, did they show proof of this investment? And in very simple terms, no detailed third-party audits or progress reports ever occurred. So skepticism from analysts and commentators, several Reddit threads, which again is just people talking, right, say that these pledges are just PR statements and that you'll see this also in 2029. But you have to understand maybe why Apple is doing it. So when I originally asked this question, I also asked it to Warren AI, which is Investing Pro's form of Chat GPT. And I actually really preferred their answer. And it's saying that, what is the benefit for Apple to be making these statements? And Apple isn't, making a $600 billion investment is not just a headline. It's calculated because it's a multi-year bet on an American tech dominance, AI relevance, and political goodwill. The details are still emerging, but at the scale and the timing suggest that Apple is playing both offense when it comes down to AI centers, factories, and build-outs, but also defense, supply chain, U.S. jobs, and then tax optimization. Because remember, if you guys have seen all the messages that Trump has been sending, it's stated that it was specifically targeting big companies like Apple and Nvidia, that if they do not bring manufacturing back to the US, they would get tariffed up the wazoo, right? So I do believe that this is a strategic move from Apple. There's no question about it. But my thing is are they actually making these investments? It seems like this time it does seem to be a little bit different, especially with these 10 different companies that are going to be vertically integrated with Apple and this $600 billion investment. I just wanted you to see that this is a constant theme that Apple has done in the past before. They did it back in 2021, in 2019, and in 2018. This is not the first time that Apple pledges to bring jobs back to America. But again, do they actually? That's just a simple question to ask yourself. Nonetheless, Apple is an incredibly well-ran business. In my opinion, even if this isn't true and it's just a gimmick in which that they can avoid paying these tariffs so they look good to the president and they look good to the press, then so be it. Apple is an amazing company. It's, super cash rich. And although their product, and I have all Apple products myself, have kind of slowed down in the way that they've been advancing, they're still completely dominant in the space. At least that's just my opinion. Nonetheless, we'll see how things continue to develop. I just wanted to shed some light on the uncertainty of this is really good news based off of current market reaction. But big picture, this is just a constant theme of what Apple likes to say and do in effort to kind of get the US off their back, which makes sense. I think it's very smart of Apple and very calculated of Apple. So you guys let me know down in the comment section what you think. Hope that earned a thumbs up. Please consider subscribing. I hope to see you for tomorrow's live trading session. And if you want to tune on in, second link in the description down below. You can sign up now and watch me trade live as soon as tomorrow. Like always, let's make sure that we end the year on a green note. Take care, team.